Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the CertiK Security Leaderboard Showcase. I'm your host, Jesse. As you know, in this showcase, I host a project for a live AMA where we discuss their work with CertiK, the Security Leaderboard, and we throw in some live questions from you, the viewers. Our goal is to raise the standard of security and transparency across the entire Web3 ecosystem. The Security Leaderboard, found at CertiK.com, is a free tool to help you safely navigate the blockchain world. Today's featured project is Kingdomverse, an NFT play-to-own game. I'd like to introduce our guests for today, Josh and Garfield from Kingdomverse.
Hi.
Hi, Josh. How's it going? Hi, Garfield.
Hi, good. How are you?
Hi, everyone.
Doing very well. Thank you for coming on today. Looking forward to the discussion. So let's get started with a discussion of what Kingdomverse is. Actually, we have a video we'll play first before we get into that discussion. So let's kick that off.
Kingdomverse is a dynamic mobile game ecosystem for the masses that is fun, user-friendly, and emphasizes digital ownership. Auditing is a complicated and essential step in the security process. At CertiK, we review the top DeFi projects to help you better understand the findings from our experts. This audit covers Kingdomverse. The summary describes the audit and the types of analyses used. Overview shows the programming language, the blockchain used, and a link to the project's codebase. The vulnerability summary lists issues that need resolution. Audit scope displays which contracts were audited. Findings highlight all issues and ranks them in terms of severity from critical to discussion. In this audit, we found 0 critical, 1 major, 0 medium, 0 minor, and 0 informational issues. Kingdomverse has resolved 0 issues. Visit CertiK.com for the full report.
Well, that answered some of the questions I had, but I'll let you guys put it in your own words. What is Kingdomverse?
Yeah, so as that really good video briefly mentioned, we're a gaming ecosystem that's made of multiple different casual mobile games, which is connected by a dynamic open world social hub where players can interact with one another, trade, or battle with one another. All the mobile games that we released in the Kingdomverse ecosystem are interconnected by tokens and NFTs that can be used across all of the games as well as in the metaverse. And they can also be traded on primary and secondary marketplaces and exchanges.
Very cool. So it's a yeah, as you said, interconnected, a whole Marvel Cinematic Universe of NFT games.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Now, can you tell me about Defend the Kingdom? I've heard a little bit about this. I'm wondering if you can give any more information on that.
Oh yeah. So as I said, we're going to develop and publish multiple different mobile games. So our first game, the first one that's coming out, it's currently moving towards open beta right now, is Defend the Kingdom. It's a very simple tower defense game where players line up their characters on a board and try and stop waves of enemies from getting to their home base. Now it's both in PvP and co-op, and whichever player doesn't prevent the enemies reaching the home base first loses, and the winner earns rewards, in-game assets, tokens that can be used further in the ecosystem.
NFT-based tokens, and this is all Web3, built on Web3 technology. So awesome. And do you have any statistics or any how are these games performing with players?
Yeah, so it's actually we actually have had a couple of tournaments so far for the early stage, alpha stage, and open beta stage of our game, and we had about 10,000 total players in our alpha tournament. We just wrapped up our second tournament, so we're getting the numbers on that, but it will be somewhere along the similar range. Our daily average users is about 2,000, or actually slightly higher, 2,500 right now. And our retention rates for day 1 is 71.6%, and day 7 is 44%. So really good numbers all around the board, especially considering for our first game, not all of the capabilities have been released yet. Again, it's barely in open beta form. So as we move into open beta in March, and then beyond that full release, we're very excited to get more users in. And keep going, keep building.
Sounds good. Those are impressive statistics for such an early stage game, and 2,500 daily users is great adoption of your project. So clearly, there's something worth sticking around for.
Thank you.
So why are you building? Why did you choose to build a GameFi project? And just give us a little description of GameFi and where you see the industry in this particular sector of Web3 headed.
Yeah. Okay. So I suppose to start with that, I should go over like our team. So our team's actually very diverse, but more or less you can kind of split us down the middle with half of us coming from a traditional mobile gaming background and the other half coming from a Web3 background. So when we started this project about just under a year ago, I'd say, we had already had a lot of experience in NFTs. Quite a few of us actually came from an NFT project. So we were just seeing how we could combine our skill sets and experience and what we like to do and what we were good at. And I think gaming was a natural progression for that. And with our experience as a team in mobile gaming, I think we have a combined experience of over 45 years in the mobile gaming industry, mixed with our genuine passion and interest for Web3 things like tokens, NFTs, and such. We wanted to combine the two, and it was pretty natural for us to choose GameFi. But where we saw the sort of the sector, I should say, at the time was that the play to earn model was quite outdated. I think people tend to forget that the whole point of games is to have fun. It's not really a tool to make financial returns. Now, if you can, that's great, and that's a big draw, obviously, of GameFi, and especially for play to earn. But a lot of the games we saw out on the market during that time, we realized the gameplay mechanics, everything to do with the actual base game, it was quite poor. And it felt like users were being shortchanged. You'd come in, you'd make some money, you'd leave, and the game itself would be pretty dead. And that really wasn't great for players that actually liked the project or supported the project, because they'd be left with essentially a shell. So when we started Kingdomverse, we wanted to sort of see what other models there were out there in GameFi and how we could bring long-term value and sustainability to our users. And that's how we got to Kingdomverse and the model we employ, which is play to own, which I think it's a much more sustainable way of GameFi projects, of creating a GameFi project and having a very long life cycle in the sector.
For sure. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about play to own. Obviously, a lot of people have heard of play to earn, which is the more traditional sort of GameFi, NFT, Web3 token model. But how does play to own work in the context of Kingdomverse?
Yeah, so I'd say, and this is of course very general, very broad, but I'd say essentially the main difference between our model and I'd say traditional play to earn would be in traditional play to earn. The game itself or the devs, they tend to put financial returns above everything, above gameplay mechanics, above all of that. So it's really about how can I come into this game, get as much bang on my buck, so to speak, and then get out. For our model, we emphasize reinvesting into the ecosystem, and so all of your returns, all of your assets that you win, your tokens, they're put back into the ecosystem to upgrade and customize your assets, your characters, which in the long run will create longer term value. So, for example, as we develop and launch more games, obviously the more opportunities to use your NFTs, to use your tokens will arise, and hopefully that translates into a more stable value for the token and sustainable growth. So a player is more incentivized to keep their tokens and keep their NFTs, their assets in the game, and continue to build up their characters, build up their lands, whatever it may be that we introduce, so that in the long term, the rewards they can get, or the yield, or even staking rewards, will naturally be greater. And that also prevents players from coming in and getting out, and that usually leads to volatile price swings in the token price, as well as people being turned off from joining the ecosystem because they see it as more of a cash grab.
Makes a lot of sense. So yeah, it really creates a virtuous cycle. If you can get people to stick around for the long term and see their assets as something that will have long-term value, then yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
I'm imagining there's a distinction between NFT in-game assets, and then how does the King token, what's the importance of the King token in the game ecosystem?
Yeah, so the NFTs, broadly speaking, we can categorize into two different categories. One will be in-game characters and one will be cross-game characters. So in-game characters, it's pretty self-explanatory. You mint them, we release a collection, you mint them, and they can only be used for the specific game they're designed to be used in. Now, cross-game characters, cross-game NFTs, sorry, would be items or characters or heroes that can be used across the ecosystem. So whether that's a second title, third title, or in the metaverse itself, they're usable as avatars, as playable characters. Now, the King token, on the other hand, it's really not to get too dramatic, but you can sort of see it as the lifeblood of the ecosystem. Every transaction, every action that will require some form of payment will use King. So whether that's buying or selling your assets, customizing your heroes, your characters, your land, any of that, it will require King. So it's hugely important to the ecosystem.
It's a great answer. I understand. I get the purpose of the King token. So you announced that you're in your game is in open beta at the moment. What's next? What does the roadmap look like for Kingdomverse?
Yeah, so we're actually listing our token in 2 days on one of the top 5 central exchanges. We actually announced which one it is today, so a pretty exciting day actually.
Big day.
Yeah, and then come March, we're moving towards full open beta for Defend the Kingdom, our first game, which includes a lot of the capabilities that I mentioned. And then beyond that, we are developing our second game already, which we plan to launch in later on this year. So I'd say Q3. And those would be the key milestones for now. But we're also building on different chains. So we already have agreements with IMX and Oasis, and we're also in talks to build on BNB. So yeah, this year we'll basically be focused on building out the games properly, releasing them on different chains, as well as I think later on in the year we'll look at listing on some other major exchanges.
That's exciting news. Yeah. Congratulations on the token listing, and
thank you.
Looking forward to seeing the project flourish. So let's get into security a little bit. Why did you guys choose CertiK for your audit? Maybe Garfield, we'll bring you into the discussion.
Yeah, thank you. We chose CertiK because even though we've developed multiple smart contracts in the past, including some cross-chain interactions, we find that when we launch our token, it's like really important that everything we do, particularly the contract, the token contract in the very center of it, is being audited by a well-trusted third party. So we chose CertiK because some of the tokens with the highest capitalization out there were audited by CertiK, like BNB, BGBP. So it's like a household name for a lot of projects when they get listed. So we really like it that CertiK hosts the report for the public to see. So any interested party can go onto the CertiK website and they can be confident that the report actually came from a reputable source rather than some crafty garage band,
It's a good point. We've had some questions about, why are these audit reports public? And the answer is for transparency purposes. And then your team, which has gone through a comprehensive audit, gets to show the results of that audit, which really go a long way to building trust with the community, and that trust really only comes from transparency. So these audit reports are really a critical part of that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. If I could just add on to that, I think another issue we saw when we were creating this project was that there are so many scam projects. I mean, this was give or take last year, maybe parts of 2021, but we just saw so many projects where, essentially it's a rug pull, it's a scam. And we want to build something for the long term. And we are very aware, of course, about, trust in this industry, about how it's not easily earned and very easily lost. And so it's not, it was a pretty natural choice for us to go with CertiK, but it also reflects in all of our choices for other partners where we want to be with legitimate and established outfits so that people know that we're actually here for the long term. We're not here to, release a token, release a game and then pump it and then, adios. No, we're here for a long time. So I think CertiK, like Garfield said, household name really for the big projects. It was the choices we've made for the project, I think that was a relatively straightforward and easy choice to make.
I'm glad to hear that. And you're right, there is a long-term way to play this game and a short-term way. And it's great to be working with teams that are taking the long-term approach and really building something that's going to stick around and provide value and provide fun. I mean, a game should be fun and provide that for users for years to come. So yeah, awesome to hear. I mean, you touched on it briefly, but the overall approach to security that Kingdomverse takes. So obviously you're long-term oriented. Auditing is a fundamental part of that. What are some other security considerations that you take into account?
We are deploying multi-sig wallets when it comes to handling the token. So trying to make sure that the authority doesn't fall into the wrong hands. It's one of the centralization issues that CertiK pointed out to us as part of the contract audit. And so we kind of deployed as much multi-sig wallets as we can everywhere. So once we get listed, we are going to set up a few pools to hold different vaults for different allocations. And these will all be behind multi-sig security.
That's great to hear. Yeah. So the one issue that was found in our audit related exactly to that, to a centralization over the wallets that distribute the tokens on the initial launch. But I encourage everyone to just read read our finding, read Kingdomverse's response to that finding, and it's great to hear that a multi-sig or multiple multi-sigs will be involved, which helps protect users and just increase that level of trust. So, moving on from security a little bit, we'll go to some audience question submissions. So there's a prize for the top 4 questions. So these 4 lucky question askers will be rewarded. That was through Twitter. So previously, when we posted the announcement. So the first question is from K2Art02. Wants to know, how does Kingdomverse balance the need for players to earn rewards and incentivize continued play while ensuring the game is still enjoyable and actually fun to play, which is a good one. So how do you combine sort of the financial element of GameFi and how do you combine the FI and the game to make an enjoyable financial game?
Yeah, I think that goes back to the model that we imply. So I briefly touched on it just now, play to own. So instead of it so being, as we saw in many other projects, like a race to the bottom, we really do emphasize, that you can have by reinvesting or redeploying your assets within the ecosystem. That's how you make greater returns, and that really just turns people away from selling off instantly. Of course, you always have people like that just want to get in and get out, which is fine. But most of our users who have been in with us for a long time, they understand that. To play the game properly, to really get to enjoy it to the fullest extent, and that's not just financially, but in terms of gameplay as well. It is in their interest to keep their assets within the ecosystem and watch your yield, your rewards, your staking rewards grow larger and larger over time, and that's how you make the most sustainable sort of model, but also give the most value back to our users. And as for the gameplay mechanics, I think also part of our appeal is that a lot of most projects, I'd say, they really just have one game. And now, again, that's fine. A lot of these games are fantastic. They're almost AAA level. They're great games to play. But we also have to be aware that in this industry, people's attention spans are very, very short. There's so many different things out there, GameFi projects, but even just normal gaming. There's so many options for a player. What makes them want to stay in your ecosystem long term? And I think, coupled with our model, the fact that we release and develop new games on a pretty consistent basis is really good, because we're always providing new content. And these games are always going to be very different in terms of gameplay, in terms of mechanics, lore, narrative, all of that, completely different games. But the fact that we push out this content, this steady pipeline of content for our users, keeps them engaged in the ecosystem, as well as giving them an opportunity to earn greater rewards and get a better financial return on the initial investment.
For sure, makes a lot of sense. Move on to the second question. So Twitter user King Alperin wants to know how the decentralized architecture of Kingdomverse ensures a secure and transparent gaming experience. So I guess why build on blockchain? I mean, obviously, if a lot of your team comes from mobile gaming, then they are experienced in building on other platforms. So what are the benefits of blockchain technology here, and what does that bring for users?
Garfield, do you want to take the more technical side of things?
Yeah, sure. So one of the most important advantage that for players of a blockchain game is that all their progress is actually recorded on the chain. This is in a very this is like very different from traditional gamings, where all your progress, your achievements were stored in a database. Because the problem with a database is that the admin gets to edit anything. So if I hate you, if you said something wrong, I hate you, I can edit your level and your money, and it will be won in no time. So the good thing with blockchain is that even though we are the game developer, we cannot do it. The progress is yours. Nobody can edit it. So it's like a security for all the players involved. They can be rest assured that they own what they achieved, and then every progress, every unlock, every gift they received, those will be written, like engraved in the blockchain, if you will.
That's a good point. That's the save game is one that I hadn't really thought of. So yeah, you're right that it's all your progress, is engraved into the blockchain in real time. I remember having old save games corrupted using a Game Boy or a PlayStation or something like that, and it's not an experience I'd recommend to anyone. So it's good that the technology has evolved to a point where that's obsolete. And another point, you mentioned that the administrator in centralized games has a whole lot of power over users. Everyone should check out Vitalik Buterin's experience with World of Warcraft and how that encouraged him to actually build Ethereum. And it's a good story, but the basics of it is he lost one of his World of Warcraft abilities overnight and was so mad that he decided to build the world's second biggest crypto project.
I wish I got that mad more often.
Oh, it's a good motivator. It sounds like a great motivator. So maybe one day. But so we have another semi-technical question. Twitter user Goblin32 says, I play online games and I've encountered the problem of bots and hackers. Is Kingdomverse capable of stopping them? What security measures have you taken to stop cheating? I'm wondering more broadly, maybe, is blockchain a solution? Does blockchain provide any solutions to bots and cheating and hacking and those sorts of things? Obviously, smart contracts are pretty secure by design. So yeah, if you could speak about that at all, Garfield, that'd be great.
Yeah, no problem. So when we say cheating, is that it actually involves multiple security fronts. So one of them would be the mobile app that you're running on your phone. The other one may be from our game server. So with smart contract, we were able to protect part of the architecture from security exploits. For example, in a traditional setting, if the game client is to send a request to the server to request for, let's say, increasing the amount of money that a particular player has, now that could be quite troublesome in the traditional settings, because you trust the client and the client gets to make so many decisions. So in our architecture, we're trying to eliminate as much of these issues as possible. So for example, if the client is going to initiate a request for the server to increase the amount of money that a player has, what we do is on our server, we are actually going to look into the game, look into what happened, and then we're trying to make sure that the amount of increasement that you have requested is actually valid and sensible for what you have been doing. For example, if a typical game pay out about 100 token, for example, then it wouldn't make sense at all if you are asking for increment of 1 million. So that's something we're doing here and there to help make sure the gameplay is fair for everyone. And yeah.
And I guess if a player's whole history has been written into the blockchain, then it's very easy to see whether or not they deserve 100 or 1 million tokens. So you've got that transparency built into the whole architecture of the system.
Exactly. So not only that, we can enforce some more higher standard of security comparing to traditional games. but we have this on-chain record that is publicly available for every player to see. So not only that you can trust us, you don't have to even trust us. You just have to go onto Everscan, you look at the transaction history, and then you know what can be trusted, what cannot be.
Right, it's provably fair, which is a major advantage over other games where you just have to trust that things are working as they should, and that some user who has an insane record isn't cheating or is playing the game fairly or something. So yeah, I think there's a lot of benefits of applying blockchain technology and the transparency and openness and trustlessness to games and other industries. So we'll finish off with a question from agreen192. What is Kingdomverse's biggest achievement in the previous year, and what is your priority this year? You outlined a bit of your roadmap, but yeah, feel free to just touch on your biggest achievement and biggest upcoming achievement.
Yeah, that's of all the questions, that one's actually quite tough. Looking back, I think it's always hard to look back and reflect which was our biggest or my favorite achievement, at least. Me and
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Okay, that's very true. I think me and Garfield might have different achievements, but overall, I'm proud that seeing the game for the first time. It sounds quite cliche, but seeing the game actually be playable for the first time, that was quite a feeling for me. It was like first time. It's like a feeling of like, okay, wow, I actually created something that people enjoy. So on a personal level, it was great when it finally went onto the App Store and the Google Play Store, and I could actually download it onto my phone and play like the very early version, and everyone in our community could as well. I think that was a pretty cool day. Other than that, I'd say being able to, maybe this sounds a bit more mundane than that, but also raising our first round was a real good feeling. That institutional people much smarter than us, so to speak, actually believe in our project and our direction. And I think in 2 days when we list, that's going to be another surreal feeling as well, to see our token, King token, on an exchange, a major exchange, and accessible to the whole world pretty much. That's going to be pretty surreal for me as well, given I've been trading crypto coins, not very well admittedly, for a long time now. So yeah, that's going to be cool. I don't know if Garfield, if you have any, what's your favorite achievement?
It's really hard to say. I think part of the question was future achievements, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So for our future achievements as well, obviously, token listing in 2 days. That's right around the corner. But I think I'm very excited for the full game to go online, with all of the bells and whistles, token NFT compatibility. I think that's after we list, that will be really our main focus, just to get the first game polished up. Any of the small remainder of bugs that's still there, to clean them up and push it out. Yeah, and then after that, it's on to our second game. And we actually, in terms of product timeline and development, we have a timeline all the way till 2024, which is when our metaverse will go online and the whole ecosystem will be neatly wrapped up.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And I think if you guys are smart enough to bring this kind of product to launch, you don't need to worry about any of that. So congratulations on that. And Garfield, if you have any final thoughts, feel free to share.
I just hope to see everyone in the game, and I truly hope that the whole community gets to see what we are building and get to experience that for themselves. So see you guys in the game.
Congratulations. It's an exciting time. I hope it all goes well for you. And we look forward to working with you in future and seeing what you come up with.
Likewise. And thank you for having us on today and hosting us.
No worries. Thank you, Josh and Garfield. Talk to you soon.
Goodbye.